Clarissa here. We are live in the limelight today, and we are bringing back our good friends from domesticshelters.org to speak about something that we have never spoken about before in the last year and a half, that we have been bringing the public service announcements about domesticshelters.org to you, whether live or recorded. I do, however, want to go in and thank some of the people that we are collaborating with. One of them is my news desk. I do absolutely love my news desk. They are helping us get out our press releases and our news releases so that we can keep you all up to date as to what's going on. Don't forget the magazine. Also, we've just dropped a new edition of In the Limelight with Clarissa, intelligent media for the savvy entrepreneur, with Joe Vitale, Mr. Fire himself, who is a global wellness guru and many other things. So get over to pressreader.com where you can read that. Our podcast, this interview, you'll be able to hear on pretty much anywhere you can get a podcast, and you can see that underneath on the ticker. And the videos, apart from going live here, we're on 5 Facebooks, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Periscope. You're going to be able to get over to Binge and Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire, Google Play, Dailymotion, and 100 other smart television apps. So In the Limelight is pretty much everywhere at this point. Okay, let's bring her on. A good friend of mine. Love seeing her face every time I do. It's Ashley Rumschlag, who is the VP of Digital Services over at domesticshelters.org. It took me a year and a half to remember that and to memorize that, but I did it. It's always so good to see you. I love when we take the when we take Domestic Shelters out live, because we always get some really great comments and some good questions. So I do encourage everyone to ask away as we go. Today, we're talking about something that we've never, as I said at the top of the show, we've never talked about before. We've talked about domestic violence, domestic abuse, pretty much for the last year and a half, and all of its different facets, especially during COVID, and all of the ramifications around staying at home with an abuser. But we've never spoken about elder abuse. Yes. And when you brought up the topic, I went, ding, yes, of course. We hear about it frequently. Mm-hmm. What is it, and how prevalent is it?
Yeah, so elder abuse looks, in some ways a lot like, domestic violence that we've talked about before. But it can also, because, in many cases they're dealing with a vulnerable adult, it can also include, neglect or alienation. So a couple other, forms of abuse that wouldn't really be applicable to the domestic violence in the sense that we've talked about it in the past. As far as how common is it, I'll talk about maybe kind of the demographics in which it's most common. So mostly, most people who experience elder abuse are women, although studies have shown that it's actually growing in prevalence with the male population as well. So it's something that as I'm kind of learning more about elder abuse and talking to experts and learning more, one of the things that kind of surprised me was I think of care facilities, so nursing homes, assisted living facilities, as where this abuse occurs. But that is just a small fraction, actually. The majority of elder abuse actually occurs in the person's home or in the family's home where they're residing. So it's something that, I think is very misunderstood, just like domestic violence as a whole.
Wow. So let's call them the perpetrators. Are they more children, sons and daughters that are abusing?
Right. So, anyone can commit elder abuse. The person most likely to abuse a senior is going to be a caregiver. So whether that be a family member or, a paid caregiver, those are the people that are most likely to do that. There aren't any really studies behind, is it mostly family? Is it mostly, paid caregivers? But
right.
Those are kind of the main people that are the perpetrators of elder abuse.
And why do we think this is happening? Is it just because it's easier, because they're less likely to pick up a phone and call 911, because they're less likely to tell? What do you think the reasoning is behind that?
Well, I mean, as with any kind of abuse, it's about power and control that someone might have. And certainly if there's money involved, there's money to gain, there's things of that nature. So, it's happening because, these are vulnerable people for the most part that are kind of easier to take advantage of. And the kind of people who would commit abuse in some ways, see them as an easy target. So that's kind of the way that things go. And it's not always, to say that the person being abused, that, the senior is weak and vulnerable and has no, agency about them. We know that abusers can abuse people who are fully, that are in the prime of their life. So it can happen to anyone.
Absolutely.
So there are, abusers are very, not to their compliment, but very smart, very cunning, very wise people. And so, anyone can kind of fall into that trap regardless of their age. And but when it comes to seniors, it's kind of a separate issue, and we kind of look at it from that way because there are other nuances to it.
Without a doubt. So what recourse does someone have that is elder, is a senior, and is experiencing this kind of abuse? What is it that they can do?
Yeah. So, if there's, the agency, the Adult Protective Services. So that's one of the main agencies out there to protect, seniors, and either the person that thinks that they're, or knows that they're experiencing abuse, or maybe someone that witnesses the abuse or suspects abuse, they can reach out to Adult Protective Services, and they'll kind of open a case, do an investigation, and, kind of figure out what is going on, and see if they can kind of, find proof of abuse going on. And if there is, then they will, create a case plan. They'll help, figure out what resources are available for them, just kind of help them find a way to safety, and try to, reestablish themselves outside of the abuse. If they don't find anything going on, then, they'll kind of, they'll close the case and move forward. But in some cases, they'll determine that the senior cannot, doesn't have the ability to kind of make the decisions about what to do next. And then, they will actually assign someone to kind of be their advocate and help them make those decisions. So
Right.
they have kind of a full system of care to help people who are victims of abuse.
So let's define abuse. Is it physical, mental? Is it financial? Is it, not bringing food to someone who might be infirm? What does that look like?
Yeah, so it can look very similar to, like I said, the typical domestic violence, but, it could be unexplained bruises, it could be broken bones, any kind of indication of physical abuse. It can also be kind of a sudden change in their financial situation. So one day they were fine, and then all of a sudden, their bank accounts are kind of bare. So those are good signs. Also just, poor hygiene, things of that nature, kind of showing that the lack of care isn't really there, though, steps have been taken to ensure that they should be cared for. But then also if overhearing threats or belittling or any kind of verbal abuse that might be going on, those kinds of things. And also, kind of a change in, their demeanor or their interest in certain activities. They may, kind of change their behaviors, and those are good indicators that abuse may be occurring.
In certain situations, would you say that 911 might be the way to go as opposed to waiting for an assessment from an agency?
Well, yeah, if someone's in immediate danger, 100%, we always say, call 911, connect with the police, and go from there. But that's, we always look to 911 as kind of the immediate danger, kind of resource. And then from there, they can also reach out to domestic violence shelters. We have a tool on domesticshelters.org where you can, search for the nearest programs to you. And we actually have a way to filter. So you can check the box for elder services or, elders as one of the demographics that they serve. And that will kind of help you determine which agencies are, specific to that population. Yeah. So, that's a good way to kind of figure out where to navigate the services. So one, immediate danger, call 911. You can also contact Adult Protective Services. If you feel more comfortable, maybe you want to reach to a domestic violence program. All of those resources are out there.
Right. So for anyone that wants to know, there you go. There's a ticker at the bottom of the screen, domesticshelters.org. And by the way, I sing their praises every time we come on about the amazing work, not only that they're doing, the 3,000 plus shelters all over the United States and some in Canada that are there ready, willing, and able to help those in need. Also, their newsletter at domesticshelters.org. It's one of the finest publications I think I've ever seen because it is so thorough. I don't think there's a question you can go to domesticshelters.org and ask whether by search or
Mhm.
at an 800 number, if I'm not, I think it's an 800 number, that you can ask and get an answer to almost immediately. So that is really, to me, is very comforting to know, and I hope that is for all of you as well. Ashley, what else can we add to let everyone know about someone that may know of an elder that's being abused? What can they do? Are their hands tied, or do they have recourse?
No, absolutely. So the resources that I mentioned are out there for people who suspect elder abuse is occurring. And so, they can connect there, encouraging to come to domesticshelters.org, research elder abuse there. We have articles there. There are also, there are also organizations that are specifically, focused on elder abuse. So if you go to our resources tab and look at the national global resources, we have information about elder abuse there. So you can just do your research, understand the signs, understand, what steps would happen if you were to get involved with an agency. We can kind of walk you through that. But there's definitely hope. There are definitely resources out there. Shelters, there are, different agencies and resources that they can take for recourse.
Right. And I always like to remind everyone that if you go to domesticshelters.org, there's also a place that you can contribute. There's a place where you can donate that is all set up, very easy to use. Just, and why don't you tell them how walk them through the process a second?
Oh, yeah, sure. So if you go to domesticshelters.org and you want to support either domesticshelters.org directly, or maybe you want to support a shelter that is in our database. We don't work directly with the shelters, but we do support them through resources and this Wishlist program, which is a way that you can support them. And so to use the Wishlist program, you just type in your location. It'll pull up a list of shelters in that area, shelters or programs that need things. They need toilet paper, they need laundry detergent, they need all these different things to make sure that they can welcome in people who are, victims and survivors of abuse. And so you go onto the wish list, you click, I want to buy two containers of laundry detergent, you check out just like you would on a normal, any online shopping experience, and there you go. You're good.
And it's sent directly to the shelter,
which directly to the shelter. Yeah.
Pretty much hands off, but certainly hands on with the way you're helping for sure.
Absolutely.
Bring us up to date. Bring us up to date on the Purple Ribbon Awards.
Yeah. So it's an exciting week that right now we are tabulating the scores and waiting for, we're going to figure out the results either today or tomorrow and start notifying winners this week. So the winners are going to be those that scored the highest by our panel of really expert judges that we put together. And from there, then we go back into those scores and we start to figure out, okay, where should we be divvying up that $30,000 in grant money? So that's going to be distributed to those top winners. We're going to have a select few of our board members and judges kind of help us with that process. And then from there, we will announce those money winners on September 15th in a virtual ceremony where we will kind of honor the amazing work that's happened. I was fortunate enough, I got to be a judge this year too. And I tell you what, I was in tears many times reading the stories of these people who've just, either.
Well, these are the people that, let's talk about who they are. They're the people that are in the field, the people that are in the trenches, the people that are making a difference, the people that are hands-on.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. People that, I read one story about a woman who, on her way home and she'll get the call, she's already worked a 15, 16-hour day and she gets the call that someone needs help. And without even blinking an eye, she turns her car around and goes, meets where the police are, helps become the advocate for the person who's experiencing abuse, and just, so selfless and so giving all these people are, and organizations are, developing these amazing programs. And it's just so uplifting. So we just can't wait to celebrate those people in a kind of a short and sweet kind of ceremony, but really just make sure that people know what's going on out there, and that there are just angels among us.
There are angels among us, people that are selfless and that really just lead with heart. And I love to hear that. I love to hear each and every one of those stories. I can't wait. When is go time on? When are we going to know about who wins?
So by the end of the week, we will notify the winners, and then we'll put out some kind of marketing to the masses. Let everyone know, who these people are, what organizations they work with, and then on September 15th, we will have our virtual ceremony to kind of give out the money. So yeah, we're really excited about that.
Yeah, I know. Well, we're going to be talking, long before that, but I definitely would love to be able to coordinate something very close to the date, if not pretty much right on the dime for when it is that you will, because we can put that out live, and I think that would be really exciting for everyone to know. I cannot wait to see who the winners are, and what a great idea. And I'm guessing that this is something you're planning on doing every year.
You got it. Absolutely. We're already thinking about next year. We'll open things back up January 2022, and then we'll just keep doing it because there's no shortage of people to recognize, and we know that. So we want to make sure that we can continually do that.
And that's a happy thought. In all of the unhappiness, to know that there are so many people that are ready, willing, and able, just sitting there waiting for a call is a very, very happy thought. Ashley Rumschlag, thank you again so much for being with us. I know we'll probably be seeing you again in the next week or two, but love as always having you on. Everyone, this has been In the Limelight Live with Clarissa and Ashley Rumschlag from domesticshelters.org. We'll see you again very soon. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to this episode of the In the Limelight podcast, intelligent media for the savvy entrepreneur. You can listen to this and all of my podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Pandora, and Inspired News Radio. You'll find all of my videos and the In the Limelight digital magazine on clarissaburt.com. And don't forget to connect with me on social pretty much anywhere. Stay well until we meet again. In the Limelight.